our
There we go.
podcast. Um,
Welcome. So now we're live on all three.
yeah, let's do some housekeeping first, and then we'll get into the topic, which is pretty cool. Today's B Day, Monday, on the Holistic Freedom Secrets podcast. We're in episode 11, and since it's Monday, we're really tapping into uh, a specific topic related to the mind, related to the heart, related to mindset, and all those things, and spirit. And that is from mind to heart, discovering your authentic self. So, um, yeah.
Housekeeping includes, first of all, like, subscribe, share, and leave comments throughout. Ask your questions in the comments. Post
Yeah.
your stories in the comments. Share is very important, and then when you like it and you subscribe and you follow and you share out, of course, that tells the algorithm that you like uh, what you want to see more of this. Tells the algorithm that we deserve to be shown to more people, and it tells us that you like the topics that we choose to talk about. So definitely consider doing those digital and virtual actions. um,
Those teams for sure.
As you know, this podcast goes by our 5 prong healing system. As Tensi already said, today is B Day. Every Monday is B Day. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday go cleanse, fuel, move, and shine. Shine being an acronym for sharing honest, insightful, nourishing expressions. So,
Yeah.
of course, all of those aspects of our healing system connect to each other. And in fact, I don't remember which episode it was. I think it was episode 7 or something like that. We talked
Yes.
about the
Five.
interconnectedness.
Five.
Five,
Episode
okay. Of all of the aspects of our 5 prong healing system. So definitely check out episode 5. And like she said, today we are talking about the difference between your mind and the heart of being, or your authentic self, your true self. I like to say true self because truth is my religion. So
Word. If you're gonna be bound to something, I mean, that's a pretty good one. Other than, love, they say as well. I feel you. This is a really brilliant opportunity because why is it important to define the true self? Well, first, let me tell you a little story, okay? Um, I remember in my journey of trying to make all of these holistic health changes. My mom was just recently diagnosed with cancer at the time, and she already had diabetes. Everyone in my family was freaking out. I needed to be like the rock. I needed to be an emotional anchor because I happened to also be the one that was more inclined to really look into and do some research around the holistic health strategies that we could apply, like nutrition and cleansing and all of that. But in order to do that, I needed to find some sort of calm in my mind. And there's a whole lot that floods through when you discover that something tragic has happened. And it felt like my heart was breaking because all of what I was taught previously in terms of Western medicine, I had no solutions for. They had no solutions for that didn't result also in harming her body through the different treatments and things. So that was really disheartening. And then on the other hand, when it came to the naturopathic, the herbal side, we couldn't afford to go see a special doctor all the way or travel to a different place to find someone that could help. So with the knowledge that we had on herbs at the time, it was not enough. It was not enough. We knew how to like help with a cold, sore throat, allergies, stuff like that, but we didn't know nothing about cancer. So in order to really come to hey, our daughter, Omi, if you haven't met, in order to come to a space of balance, there were times where when emotions got real, I needed to find a real peace. I needed to be able to discern between my thoughts, my emotions, and the true self, so I didn't get caught in the whirlwind of life and of a downward spiral. So that's why it's so important that we're talking about defining the true self, what it means to embody that. Mhm. And that's why it's so important. And I'm going to pass it to Coach Soul. I'm Coach Tensi, so that he can take it away, because he is the meditation, the mindfulness coach, and will help Omi take a nap. Love you, and as always, any questions, any things that you have, let us know in the comments, and we would love to engage. Okay, loves.
Cool. Oh, so now you want to be quiet. Okay. Just to conclude that story, so as of today, and since 2017, actually the beginning of 2017, Mama Peaches has been and still remains cancer free, and still exhibits the internal, like introspective behaviors that made that possible. So definitely super important to journey from the mind to the heart, or from your personality energy to the heart of your being. And I'm going to teach a little bit about that today. So first thing I want to talk about is what in the blazes is one's true self, right? What is your true self? What does it even mean? What is the definition of your true self? And what that is, or how to discover it, is actually quite simple and straightforward. Your true self is that which is before the mind starts speaking. Your true self is that which is before the mind starts speaking. So, when someone asks you a jarring question, it could be a question about your past, it could be a question about something you're learning that you haven't dove that deep into it yet, or it could be something regarding a trauma that you went through that you didn't expect them to ask you this question. And for a moment, because you're jarred because of an emotional response, the mind isn't speaking. And there's a presence, you are there, but the mind is not there. The mind is trying to process what just happened, right? Or let's say you're waking up in the morning. You're waking up in the morning, and it doesn't feel like you're waking up out of a dream. It's one of those mornings that you're waking up and it seems like you're coming from deep sleep to the waking state, right? Every now and again, you're not waking out of a dream, you're just waking up. During that waking up process, the first maybe minute or so, maybe 2 minutes, mind isn't there, is it? This presence of yours that is not engaged in thinking or listening, that's not engaged in any activity whatsoever, that's qualityless. This presence, which has no troubles, no aims, no desires, no boundary, no physical sort of boundary or body. This presence is called yourself. And there is a vast difference between yourself and your mind. So, and before I move on to what those differences are, I do want to tell you why it matters, right? Why it matters that there's a difference between your mind and yourself. Firstly, yourself is never wrong because yourself has no aims, has no desires that will cloud its judgment. And that doesn't mean yourself is constantly giving you advice. In a way, it is through your intuition. But when the mind is very cloudy, the intuition can be wrong. So yourself is not your intuition by itself. But your true self is never wrong. Here's what I mean by that. If something is happening and it's bringing you your mental space to the association between yourself and a trauma that you went through in the past, or a long-term negative experience that has turned into a trauma for you now in your adulthood from your past, knowing the difference between your true self and your ego, your mind, will allow you to see that the mind is being pulled into the past and to not go with it to the past, because your true self remains here in the now. Therefore, your true self is never wrong about what is actually happening, right? When I was going through my, pardon me, deepest depressive moments in my mid 20s, and I was going through a period where I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to stop playing this game of life because it was everything around me kept pulling me into the past and into association with the dark parts of my past. In the moment when I was about to take my life, there was a switch between myself and my mind, meaning I was locked in mindhood and I was locked in the mental space and with all of the desires and all of the purposes and all of the things that were driving me toward wanting to do this because everything was failing and I had all of these negative thoughts. There was a switch, and I switched unintentionally, sort of with divine influence, into the seat of consciousness, into my own true self. And that switch allowed me to view what the mind was doing and to come to a clarity that was not there before in all of the mind cloudiness, a clarity that none of this stuff that I was thinking about was actually happening to me right now. And I survived, and I didn't kill myself. And I also have since beaten suicidal depression. Right, it'll never come back because of that switch. So very, very, very important, and it matters greatly. Now, I also want to mention the difference between yourself and your mind. How to understand your mind is done through meditation and introspection. And introspection can be done in a myriad of ways. Introspection can be done through conversation. Introspection can be done through journaling. Introspection can be done through contemplation. You can use the mind to discover what the mind does, right? You have to use yourself to discover what the mind is. But what the mind does can be can be discovered through contemplation, through journaling, and through conversation, through bouncing ideas off of people. And when you learn to understand your mind, you learn to see what? Its patterns. When you learn to see your mind's patterns, you're able to discern between when you are engaged in a mental pattern that has been, set in stone, and you can just observe that pattern or stop engaging in it, or whatever's best and more appropriate for the moment, and remain in the core of your being. Remain as just the presence that watches the mind. Okay? And what are the qualities of the self? How do you understand the self? First of all, you have to ask yourself, well, who am I? Right? Self, I, me, all of these words point to the same presence. So who am I is a great self-inquiry question that you can ask and dive deeply into by the same way that you ask another question, like, how do I solve this math problem, or what should I do about my niece and her issues with this, that, and the other? Who am I? And you take time to contemplate that question with focus and with earnestness, right? And what you'll find is the self does not have any of the qualities of the mind whatsoever. The self is not engaged in activity. Again, the self has no desires. The self has no aims. It's not trying to do anything. It's not trying to just observe. That's one of the mental tricks that happens in meditation, where the mind will say, "Okay, I'm trying to just observe," when there's already a presence that's just observing that you can tap into, called your true self. And and the self has no beginning. It doesn't come back into being when you realize that you're just engaged in a mental pattern. The self is what it is and always has been and does not change. Right? The biggest difference between the self and the mind is that the self is unchanging. The self has no, it was this way when I was younger and now it's this way now and it'll probably be this way when I'm older. No, the self is the self. It is yourself, and it is there before the mind starts talking, starts patterning, starts changing. Okay? That's how you start to understand the difference between yourself and your mind. Now, a technique beyond the question, who am I? Or a few techniques that I wanted to highlight are meditation, again, observing the difference, observing the space between yourself and your mind silently, journaling about your mind as if it is something separate from you, as if it is something outside of you. Because, kind of technically, both your body and your mind are outside of the you that I'm calling your true self, right? They're happening inside of your true self, you could say, but they're not your true self as a totality. Your body is not your true self, as your body uh, only exists as a sort of biochemical expression of yourself, but it does not describe your full self, right? Your mind, same thing. It's an expression, but it's not the true self. So journaling about your mind, journaling about your experiences, journaling about your emotional heart, journaling about these things will help you start to see and get more acquainted with the space between yourself and your mind, yourself and your emotions, yourself and your body. Introspection and contemplation, and then self-discovery practices, reading about yourself through people who have written books on this thing. Mooji's book is a great starting place because it's very, very, very beginner friendly and easy to follow, and you don't have to read it from cover to cover and say like, okay, I've finished reading this book. You can open the book to any page, and that is a self-discovery practice, right? Hearing from people that have discovered the true self and are living by that true self all the time, right? Or coming to people like me and saying that you need a meditation coach, and we will do meditations specifically for true self-discovery. And that's how you loosen the grip that the mind has on your identity. Because the issue with all of the problems that you face in your life have to do with identifying with the mind. What does that mean? It means whenever you are locked into a negative experience, right? And it could be a not so severe negative experience. It doesn't have to be extreme, but you're locked in, right? For some reason, you're complaining about your negative experience, and you don't want to hear anything different. If anything, you want somebody to empathize with you and just complain with you. And other than that, you don't really want to hear anything else. You're locked in, right? What does that mean? That means you're identifying with the mind because the mind is going through this problem, right? It's thinking through it. It's feeling through it. It's putting effort into trying to overcome it or beat it or get even with the causes of the problem. The mind is going through this problem, and the issue that you're having is you are taking all of the power that you have as your true self and investing identity into what the mind is doing, into the mind space. You are identifying fully with the mind that is going through the problem. So that's the whole issue for any type of negative experiences. And the solution lies in detaching from your thoughts, detaching from that identity, and saying, I'm not the one going through this problem. I can see what my mind is doing, and I know and see that there is a space between myself and my mind, and embracing the here and now. Most of the time, when the mind is going through a problem, it's not embracing the here and now. So that's pretty much all that we have to share for this episode. Again, please like, subscribe, follow, turn the notifications on so that you know when we're going live next. Share this out. Share this out to whoever you can, whoever you think may benefit from it. Of course, next episode will be dealing with cleanse. It is cleanse week. And for cleanse week, we are going to talk about how to clear your body in a way that does not worsen whatever your body's going through. How to properly cleanse. Okay. And of course, we're going to get into it from a perspective that also involves your hormones and how to time it right, things like that. So can't wait. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you in the next one.